Okay, folks, buckle up because tonight we're diving into one of the strangest feelings your brain produces and asking a dangerous question. What if deja vu isn't a glitch in your mind, but a glitch in reality itself? Get ready for a wild ride. You just reloaded. You are standing in a room. The smell, the lighting, the hum of something electrical in the background. Someone across from you shifts their weight, and before they speak, you already know what they are going to say. Not in a vague way, in a precise way, the exact words, the exact tone. The exact pause between syllables. Your stomach drops, your skin prickles. Time feels thicker, like it's buffering. For half a second, reality does not feel new, it feels resumed. Science says this is a misfire in your temporal lobe, a brief confusion between short-term and long-term memory. But that explanation does not match the feeling. Because it does not feel random, it feels placed. It feels like you have returned to a checkpoint. What if that strange, heavy familiarity is not your brain glitching? What if it is the universe stabilizing? What if reality just hit an error and quietly reloaded the last stable save file, and you were never supposed to notice? A single frame repeats, and then everything continues as if nothing had happened. Except you remember. Or maybe you don't. Okay, let's breathe before we all assume we're living inside a cosmic Xbox. A deja vu is very real, and neuroscience has some solid explanations for it. But what makes this topic interesting is not that science is wrong. It is that the experience feels bigger than the explanation. That emotional weight is what people latch onto. So, we're going to explore the theory, not preach it, not panic about it. Just explore it. Because sometimes the feeling tells a different story than the data, and that gap is where the mystery lives. The official explanation and the cracks in it. Let's start grounded. Deja vu has been studied for decades. Neuroscientists generally agree that it is a memory processing glitch. One theory suggests a delay between two natural pathways. Information reaches one part of the brain milliseconds before the other, creating a false sense of familiarity. Another explanation involves the temporal lobe. Electrical stimulation of this area during medical procedures has induced deja vu in patients. There is also the dual recognition theory. Your brain flags something as familiar without successfully retrieving the original memory. It's like your mind saying, "I've seen this," but failing to explain why. There's even a related phenomenon called déjà rêve, the feeling that you've dreamed something before it happened. All of this is documented. All of it is reasonable. But here is where things get interesting. If deja vu is simply a misfire, why does it feel so structured? Why does it often arrive during moments of heightened awareness? Crossing a street, driving at high speed, making a life-changing decision. It rarely feels like static noise. It feels like alignment, like the universe just snapped into position. And more importantly, it feels directional. Not like confusion, but like recognition. The science explains the mechanism. It does not fully explain the sensation of returning, that subtle, almost digital feeling that something has just recalibrated. And when a psychological event feels mechanical, people start looking for machinery. That's where this theory begins, not in the denial of science, but in the space science leaves unexplained. Now, I want to be clear. The neurological explanation for deja vu is pretty strong. There is no conspiracy hiding inside your hippocampus. But humans are pattern-seeking creatures. If something feels intentional, we instinctively search for intention. Now, that doesn't make us irrational. It makes us curious. So instead of rejecting science, what we are doing here is exploring the metaphor. What if the brain glitch is not just random noise, but the sensation of something stabilizing? And again, we are theorizing, not rewriting physics, but we are asking better questions, and that is where things get interesting. Glitches in history. Human history is filled with moments that feel like corrupted frames in an otherwise stable film. In the 1970s, author Philip K. Dick described an experience where he felt reality had been overwritten. He believed information from another timeline had bled into his own consciousness. Whether psychological, spiritual, or neurological, The key detail was this: it felt like something had updated. Online communities today are full of similar accounts, stories labelled "glitch in the matrix." Near accidents avoided by a fraction of a second. People stepping back onto a sidewalk just before a car jumps the curb. Drivers changing lanes for no clear reason moments before debris appears ahead. None of these stories are verifiable evidence of timeline resets, but they share a pattern, a sensation of interruption, a moment that feels like it should have gone differently. Then there are historical time-slip accounts. The Versailles incident of 1901, where two women claimed to briefly experience the palace as it appeared in the 18th century. Skeptics attribute it to misinterpretation or suggestion. Believers call it temporal overlap. Now, the interesting part is not whether these events prove anything, it's how we describe them. Corrupted, lag, reset, timeline shift. We use technological language to explain existential confusion. It's as if our metaphors evolved alongside our machines. Once we spoke of ghosts and fate, now we speak of glitches and reloads. And when enough people independently describe reality using system terminology, you have to ask an uncomfortable question. Are we projecting digital language onto mystery, or are we subconsciously describing a structure we sense but do not fully understand? The texture of these stories feels mechanical, and that texture keeps the reset theory alive. Alright, important reality check. Anecdotes are not evidence. Reddit stories are not peer-reviewed journals, but here is the thing. Patterns matter psychologically. When thousands of people describe moments of near misses or timeline weirdness using similar language, that's culturally interesting. It doesn't prove resets. It proves humans are trying to map strange experiences using modern metaphors. We used to say guardian angel, now we say glitch, same human instinct. Different vocabulary. That shift alone is fascinating, and it tells us something about how we process uncertainty in the digital age. The reset mechanism. Now, let's introduce the engine behind the theory. Imagine reality as an open-world simulation. You move through it freely. Choices branch. Outcomes ripple outward. In gaming terms, these are checkpoints, moments the system marks as stable states. If a catastrophic failure occurs, the program rolls back to the last viable save. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment rooted in the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. According to this interpretation, every possible outcome of a quantum event creates branching universe. In some branches, you might survive. In others, you don't. The thought experiment suggests that, from your perspective, consciousness only continues in branches where survival occurs. You never experience the branch where you don't make it. You only experience the ones where you do. This is not proven science. It is philosophical physics, but follow the logic. If catastrophic branches are discarded from your conscious path, could déjà vu be the echo of a brain that failed? A timeline where events unfolded differently? A path that terminated, a version of this moment that did not continue. And your awareness shifted to the nearest stable continuation. Think about your strongest déjà vu moment. Were you crossing a street, driving fast, making a sudden decision? Now, many people report déjà vu during heightened states. Adrenaline, risk, uncertainty. Again, correlation is not proof. But if reality were stabilizing itself, those would be the moments it might need to. Not because you remembered the past, but because the system just corrected an error, and you felt the recalibration. Okay, deep breath. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment, not a confirmed feature of the universe. No physicist is officially saying we are respawning like video game characters. But the many worlds interpretation does allow branching possibilities. And the rest is philosophical extrapolation. The reason this theory sticks is because it reframes survival. Instead of random luck, it suggests continuity. Again, speculative, but powerful. And powerful ideas tend to survive long after the equations stop talking. Near-death and save points. There is another pattern that keeps surfacing. Near-death experiences. People who come close to fatal accidents often describe something strange. Time slows down. Details sharpen. The world becomes hyper-clear. Some describe a detachment from their body. Others report a rapid life review. cascade of memories compressed into seconds. Neurology explains much of this. Adrenaline floods the system. The amygdala activates. The brain prioritizes survival data. Time perception distorts under stress. All of that makes sense, but step back for a moment. From a metaphorical standpoint, what does that look like? It looks like a system entering emergency mode, flagging instability, prioritizing memory consolidation, storing state information. In technology, when a system detects risk, it creates backups. Cloud services create restore points before updates. Operating systems generate recovery files. Video games autosave before boss fights. And not because they expect failure, but because they prepare for it. Now, imagine high-intensity life moments as automatic checkpoints, driving at night, crossing a busy intersection, standing at the edge of something uncertain. And moments where variables spike. And what if those are the moments reality stabilizes itself? Not mystically, mechanically. If quantum immortality is even conceptually possible, then the branch where you survive becomes the active thread. The branch where you don't simply cease from your perspective, and maybe the sensation we call déjà vu is the subtle echo of that correction. A system recalibration, not because something supernatural happened, but because something statistical did. Again, this is philosophical physics, but it reframes déjà vu from memory error to continuity management. And that shift is unsettling, because it suggests survival is not always linear, it is selected. Alright, but let's stay grounded here. Near-death experiences have strong neurological explanations. Stress chemistry does wild things to perception. We don't need cosmic software engineers to explain adrenaline, but the metaphor is powerful. When your brain switches into survival mode, it really does look like a system prioritizing continuity. That doesn't mean we're in a game. It means survival feels mechanical. And once you see that parallel, it's hard to unsee it. That is where the theory gains traction, not in proof, but in pattern recognition. The CERN and Timeline Era. Now we address the cultural layer. The early 2010s were strange. In 2012, the Large Hadron Collider confirmed the existence of the Higgs boson, a monumental achievement in physics, proof of a long-predicted particle. At the same time, online conversations about the Mandela effect surged. People questioned alternate memories, timeline discussions, déjà vu anecdotes rising across forums. Correlation is not causation, but timing shapes narrative. When the LHC reached unprecedented energy levels, some speculated about unintended side effects, micro black holes, dimensional stress, timeline fractures. But there's no verified evidence that particle collisions alter reality in that way. Scientists have addressed these concerns publicly and consistently. But culturally, CERN became a symbol of humans pushing into fundamental layers of existence. When society feels unstable, it looks for anchors, and high-energy physics is a convenient anchor. It represents unseen forces, invisible structures, deep frameworks beneath everyday experience. So, when people felt reality shifting, socially or psychologically, CERN became part of the story. Not because it caused it, but because it fit the metaphor. The truth is, the 2010s were filled with rapid technological acceleration, social media expansion, algorithmic influence, information overload. Reality felt different, and when perception changes, humans search for structural causes. If reality were fragile at a quantum level, could extreme energy experiments matter? There's no evidence to support that, but the question persists because it speaks to a deeper fear. What if we're not just observers of the system? What if we are modifying it, even unintentionally? And if that were true, would we notice the reset, or would it just feel like déjà vu? Let's be crystal clear. There's no credible scientific evidence that CERN is breaking timelines or triggering resets. The Higgs boson discovery was a triumph, not a reality patch gone wrong. But culturally, big scientific milestones become myth magnets. When the world feels unstable, people connect dots. Sometimes those dots are symbolic, not literal. CERN represents deep structure, so it becomes part of the narrative, not because of proof, but because it fits the vibe. And humans are very good at building stories from vibes. simulation theory and the latency problem. Now we zoom out, way out. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed what is now known as the simulation argument. If advanced civilizations can create realistic ancestor simulations, then statistically it is possible we are inside one. Years later, Elon Musk publicly suggested that the probability we are living in a base reality might be very low. This is not proof, it is probability philosophy, but it opens a door. If reality is computational at its deepest level, then computational artifacts are possible. Lag, desync, rollback, data compression. In computing, when a system encounters instability, it can revert to a previous stable state. When networks fall out of sync, they resynchronize. And when memory corrupts, it reloads from cache. Now imagine consciousness as a rendering process. You think you are remembering something, but maybe the system is reconciling state information. And maybe what feels like familiarity is a latency correction. There is another interesting parallel. AI systems today sometimes train on synthetic data generated by other AI systems. Researchers call the degradation that follows model collapse. Over time, outputs become distorted, less grounded, more surreal. If reality were simulated, what would degradation look like? More anomalies, more perceptual oddities, more déjà vu, or perhaps the opposite, better smoothing, better optimization, glitches behind the seamless rendering. The unsettling part is not that simulation theory proves anything, it doesn't. The unsettling part is how easily computational language maps onto human experience, and how natural it feels to describe reality as code. If we are in a simulation, déjà vu might not be memory, it might be the system catching up. Right, let's slow down before we all start looking for the power button of the universe. A simulation theory is philosophical. It's not experimentally verified, but it is intellectually respectable. And that is what makes it sticky. Now, the parallels between computing and consciousness are metaphorical, not literal. Still, when you notice how we describe perception using tech language, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow. When we built computers in our image, now we describe ourselves in theirs. That feedback loop alone is fascinating. The limit question. Now we arrive at the part that makes people uneasy. If resets are possible, is there a limit? In video games, lives are finite. In cloud systems, storage has caps. In simulations, compute is not infinite. If quantum immortality were real, consciousness would always follow the survivable branch. But how many survivable branches exist? Are they endless, or are they narrowing? In physics, entropy increases. In systems, resources deplete. In branching universes, probability thins. If you imagine survival as a narrowing tree of possibilities, each decision reduces future options. So, what happens if you reach a point where no survivable branch remains? Well, quantum immortality does not answer that. It only suggests continuity where possible, not immortality without boundary. This is where the theory stops being cool and starts being existential, because it implies survival is conditional. And if déjà vu is a checkpoint sensation, then it might not be infinite. Now pause. Before we spiral into cosmic dread, remember something important. All of this rests on speculative interpretations of quantum mechanics and philosophical arguments about simulation. The neurological explanation for déjà vu remains strong. But here is the lingering question. Why does the experience feel intentional? Why does it feel placed? Why does it feel like a system event instead of random noise? Even if the answer is purely biological, the feeling is powerful, and powerful feelings shape belief. If resets exist, we may never know. If they do not, our brains are incredibly convincing storytellers. Either way, next time you feel it, you'll notice the weight, and you might wonder, was that memory or maintenance? Alright, no panic. There is no evidence that you have limited respawns or that the universe runs on a cosmic subscription plan. The limit question is philosophical tension, not scientific conclusion, but it is compelling because it forces us to think about survival in a new way, not luck, but branching probability. Again, speculative, but sometimes speculation is useful. It stretches the mind without breaking it, and that is the sweet spot of this channel. Next time it happens. So, here we are. No confirmed resets, no cosmic patch notes, no official statement from the universe, just a feeling. A strange, heavy moment where reality pauses for half a breath. Next time it happens, don't brush it off immediately. Pause. Look at the room. Notice the light, the position of the doors, the way the air feels, the sound in the distance. Ask yourself something simple. Did I remember this? Or did I arrive here again? Maybe it's just neurons firing slightly out of sync. Maybe it's your temporal lobe playing a harmless trick. The science is solid, the brain is complicated. But here is the reason this theory refuses to disappear. Deja vu does not feel like confusion, it feels like continuity. It feels like you stepped back into alignment. Quantum immortality suggests survival follows viable branches. Simulation theory suggests reality could be computational. Neuroscience suggests memory is messy. Now, all three explanations can coexist in curiosity without cancelling each other out. And maybe that's the point. We may never prove whether reality reloads, but the experience of déjà vu forces a deeper question. Is existence linear, or is it adaptive? Not fate, not destiny. Adaptive continuity. If reality ever did correct itself, if a catastrophic branch was trimmed quietly away, you would not experience the version where it ended. You would only experience the continuation. Which means, from your perspective, nothing strange happened at all, except that wait, that strange recognition, that flicker. So, next time it hits, don't panic, just observe. Because whether it is neurons misfiring or the universe stabilizing, one thing is true. You are still here, and maybe that is the only branch you ever get to see. Alright, before anyone emails CERN asking for patch notes, let's stay grounded. There's zero scientific evidence that we are respawning between timelines. Deja vu is very likely a brain phenomenon. But here is the fun part. The experience feels bigger than the explanation. That tension is what makes this topic fascinating. We explored philosophy, physics, psychology, and a little bit of sci-fi flavoured curiosity. Not to convince you, just to stretch the frame. Now, honestly, even if this is just neurons, the fact that your brain can simulate that level of reality distortion is incredible on its own. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Now, all my episodes are available as a Mysteria Archive podcast, which you can listen to through the YouTube Music app. And if you'd like to support the channel further, check out my Patreon and YouTube membership site. Links in the description below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and I'd really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments below of videos you would like to see next time. Okay, my friends, be safe and until next time, stay curious.